Alrighty, Craig. So we're now in the third segment of our show, which is always the lesson for the listeners and the viewers. So you wanted to talk to us about the hidden art and science of pit building. So I'm going to just sort of sit back and be quiet now and just let you share some wisdom with us.
Okay, so you want to build a barbecue smoker. Okay, there's several ways to do it. A lot of people like to repurpose gas cylinders or repurpose old tanks of any description to do it. That's great and everything. Be very mindful when you're doing that sort of thing that it is a real risk of you blowing yourself up if you don't know what was inside that container before you go and cut it open. Because steel needs a friction cutter, a plasma cutter, an oxyacetylene torch of some description to open it up, to do all the things. So if you're going to recycle material, I like to build out of new steel. I do build gas tank barbecues, and I build some large gas tank barbecues, but we deal with air and gas specialists in the field, and we've been trained and taught how to purge and cut into a tank without killing ourselves. So I know the risk and I know the danger, and it's a very real danger. So
it is,
you know, even into a 44-gallon drum, that if you don't know what's been in there, then you've got to be very careful. You got to wash it out, purge it. You know, the best thing to do with those, like with an LPG gas tank or something like that, and disclaimer, don't do this at home, okay? But if you are hell-bent on opening up an old gas cylinder or an old tank of some description, you don't know what's been in there, fill it up with water and dishwashing soap of some sort, drill a hole into it, and while it's full of water, with your electrical leads out of the way, because you probably don't have a plasma cutter or an oxyacetylene gear in your garage if you've got a friction cutoff wheel, cut a small slit into it while there's a whole lot of water inside of it, and don't get the electrical lead wet, but cut down a bit and let the water then drain out of it, because as soon as you opened up that tank enough with a big enough slit into it, it's no longer a bomb that's going to explode and become shrapnel around the house. So, you know, though, if you're going to cut into a tank, be careful. I like new steel more than, like, I'll build you a tank, a barbecue out of an LPG tank. I will, but I've been cutting into them for years and I know what I'm doing. So, yeah, at home, it's a very real danger of something going bang if you don't do it properly. We like to use new steel. We use new steel pipe. We buy it in bulk. We buy meters and meters and meters of steel, tons of it every year. It's easy to work with. So source your material, source your tank, get it right. The next step is calculate how it's going to flow. So you need a decent sized firebox and little tiny fireboxes, because that's the only bit of steel you got left over. Again, it's not about looks, it's about function. And over the years of building them, I've found the bigger the firebox, the better. It just is. It just makes a barbecue more efficient to a certain degree. There is ratios and science behind it, but a decent sized firebox for your cylinder, and then work out your your stack and your opening. So on an offset pit, why it's an offset pit is because the firebox is offset to the side, and the firebox predominantly is lower than the actual cylinder of the cooking chamber, so that the hot air rises, goes across the food, and goes out the smokestack. So you've got to calculate. Then there's several different forums online, several different calculators online that are fairly good, and that will give you a flow rate, opening sizes, and stack sizes. And that's the basics of it. Like, we've got our own designs and stuff that we work out over the years, which is a formula that we've worked out that is our patent, our trademark. It's our proprietary information. That's what we do. That's why our pits work so well. But it's not, like I said, it's barbecue. It's not rocket science. It's simple. Trial and error. You'll work it out. Steel's great. You can add to it and you can take it away. So you can weld a piece back on if it's gone, or you can open it up a little bit more. It's forgiving stuff, you know, nothing that the grinder and the welder can't fix, you know. And then the other big thing is door fitment, which, like I said, that could take you an hour to fit a door, or it could take you a day to fit the door. Steel has a tendency to move under heat, under the different types of manufacturing processes of cylinders of pipe. If you use pipe, the door will spring. It'll spring open, and you'll have to try and form that back into shape to make it fit the cylinder again. And when you cut the cylinder hole, the door opening hole out, the actual opening moves as well. So we have many methods and many tools in the workshop to make these things conform back to what you want to do. But again, our material that we use is 6.5 mil thick. So making that move, that's our standard. We do thicker stuff, like we do 8 and 12 mil thick steel as well. But our our lightweight barbecues are 6.5 mil thick carbon steel. So you have to make that door seal, and that, if anything, that is the art of building a offset stick burner, is making the door fit. And flange it inside, flange it outside, make it look however you want it to look. But making that door, persuading it back into its position, is the art of building a good barbecue. The rest of it is just your own artistic appeal and everything to that. If you've got the firebox size right, if you've got the opening and the stack sizes right, if you've got the door fitted correctly, the rest is whatever your take of what a barbecue is. There is no rule of what it is. I know what I like when I look at a barbecue. I know the dimensions. I know, in my eye, what I think is aesthetically pleasing when I look at a barbecue, which has changed over the years a little bit. I've moved very much now towards a very traditional Central Texas style, Aaron Franklin style barbecue type thing. Took a lot of inspiration from Aaron Franklin over the years, from his barbecue. It just his whole demeanor of how barbecue is, and his relaxed approach to it. Like, he's a perfectionist. He likes to do his things his way, but it doesn't matter if you get it wrong. It's barbecue. You learn from it. You get it right again. Same with building your pit. And I like to style my pits towards that now, because that's a really aesthetically pleasing look that I've seen. So that's how I like to do it. But if you're building a pit like that, those are really the three things. Whether you put monster truck tires on it and a stand, or pneumatic folding front shelf, or a collapsible smokestack, it's up to you. But if you can get those three things right, you build a pit, and that could take you, several weekends at home building it, or it could take you, months on a project. But it's very satisfying to build your own barbecue. As a professional pit builder, we are very much into precision laser cut parts, folding parts. Again, we build a lot of barbecues. We buy a lot of steel, buy a lot of pipes. So it's economical for us to do it. And I know that if you're doing a one-off design or one-off things like that, it can be a little bit more expensive. But that's why a lot of people like to recycle parts. There's nothing wrong with handcrafting parts. We don't handcraft parts in the workshop because it just takes too long. So we've got CAD, we've got 3D Inventor, we've got, conversions to cut files, and we contract out a lot of our cutting stuff, because to manufacture parts, to hand build parts, they're all hand designed, but we get profile cutters to cut the bulk of our parts out, because we would be forever trying to finish a barbecue. But if you're building one at home, then trace out with some chalk on a bit of steel and cut away to your life's contentment, because if you're building it at home, you've got the time to do it. We're in a production facility, so we need to churn these things out. So we've got machines and processes and welders and gear all over the place to make our job easier. And having the right tools makes your job easier at home too. But not everybody can afford plasma cutters and 250 amp welders, and have 3-phase power and forklifts. The forklift is a great tool for pit building. It really is, because a small pick can weigh a couple of 100 kilos when built out of quarter-inch steel. And a forklift with its hydraulics on it can really persuade things to go back to where they should be. So, if you've got a forklift around your garage, then, it's going to be a great tool because, you can use the hydraulics on that to create, things that will to persuade things to go into the way they should be. But having said that, nothing wrong with a bit of blood, sweat, and tears and a sledgehammer to push steel back into where it needs to go. It wouldn't be the first time that I've used a sledgehammer to try and make steel go back to where it is. Heat and hammering will really move steel around.